If you haven't heard already, you absolutely must hear about the new New Jersey Supreme Court decision that addresses how to prosecute drug DUI in New Jersey. Do you ever wonder, now that marijuana is legal, how are they going to prove whether or not someone is actually under the influence of marijuana at the time they were driving? Well, this new Supreme Court decision addresses that question, and I'll tell you everything you need to know about it right now. Hi, I'm Daniel M. Rosenberg. I'm a criminal defense attorney and the founding partner of Rosenberg, Perry & Associates. And a question I get asked constantly, now that marijuana is legal here in New Jersey, is, Dan, how is the state going to be able to determine whether or not I smoked marijuana 10 minutes ago before I got in the car or 2 days ago? So to address that, you need to know how a DUI is proven here in New Jersey. So typically what we're talking about is an alcohol DUI. So an alcohol DUI is proven by a number of factors. The first being whether or not there's any traffic infractions. Then, is there any indicia of intoxication? Droopy eyes, slurred speech, the odor of alcohol emanating from someone's breath. There's also standardized field sobriety tests, the walk and turn, the one-leg stand. There's also toxicology reports or blood draws. And finally, there's officer testimony. Now, officers are not experts in DUI prosecution, but they are permitted to testify at trial about what they observed with a suspect, specifically whether or not they observed signs or signals of intoxication. So now that you know a little bit about how DUIs are prosecuted here in the state of New Jersey, let's talk about how drug DUIs are prosecuted here in the state of New Jersey. Firstly, there is no breath test for drugs. So you can take that piece of evidence and completely push it aside, because if you are under the influence of drugs, not alcohol, you're going to provide a breath sample that shows 0.0 blood alcohol content. So the next step is, what about standardized field sobriety tests? Well, standardized field sobriety tests were created to determine alcohol intoxication. If you fail the field sobriety test, that is a determination that you are under the influence of alcohol. Now, there are lots of courts that use standardized field sobriety tests in an attempt to prove that someone is under the influence of drugs, but that's simply not the case and something we argue about quite often. So if you don't have a breath test and standardized field sobriety tests are suspect when it comes to proving a drug DUI, how does the state prove their drug DUI? Well, there's something called a drug recognition expert. And that is a law enforcement officer who's gone through training, classroom and in-field training, where they evaluate a number of individuals who are under the influence of a number of different substances. There's some criteria that they go through, some analysis that's done, and they're able to provide an opinion as to whether or not someone is showing signs of intoxication from a particular drug. This DRE expert is brought in to evaluate the driver, provide an expert report, and then potentially testify at trial if the individual goes to trial. But in order for this expert report to be deemed admissible in court and used against you at trial, that DRE expert must be deemed an expert in the state of New Jersey. So this brings me to the change in the law that you absolutely need to know about, and that is State versus Olenowski, which is a New Jersey Supreme Court decision that specifically addresses whether or not DREs are experts in the state of New Jersey. So the New Jersey Supreme Court deemed that drug recognition experts, through a Daubert analysis, which is something the Supreme Court does as opposed to a Frye analysis, determined that drug recognition experts are experts in the state of New Jersey and can testify in court against DUI defendants. But there's caveats to those findings. The first being that a DRE expert cannot testify, quote, too much. That is, that the state cannot rely solely on the DRE expert's testimony to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. The Olenowski decision held that impairment must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt by independent evidence. A DRE expert may opine only that the evaluation is, quote, consistent with, close quote, the driver's ingestion or usage of drugs, not that it was actually caused by drugs. So in addition to the DRE testimony, there must be other independent evidence establishing that someone is under the influence of drugs. Which brings me to Olenowski's next significant finding, which is that the state must make efforts to obtain a toxicology report, urine or blood draw, to prove what drugs are in the individual's system. And if they don't have a persuasive justification for why they did not get the toxicology report, then the DRE expert testimony is prohibited. Another finding of the decision is that a defendant must be given a fair opportunity to impeach the DRE expert. In essence, the DRE expert must be permitted to testify, and then the defense permitted to effectively and extensively cross-examine that witness on the stand. Those are the most significant findings from the all analyses decision, and what you need to know about how the state will attempt to prove a drug DUI if you're charged. But again, the law is fluid in New Jersey. It is constantly being amended, updated, and changed. So as of the moment we are making this video, this is what the law is. But in light of the all analyses decision, there may be changes coming down the pike, and it's certainly something we're going to keep an eye on. So if you or someone you know has been charged with a DUI or drug DUI here in New Jersey, contact our office. We're happy to help. We'll take the time we need to evaluate your situation, provide you with blunt and honest advice. And if you like the contents of this video, please like or subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if there's a topic you'd like to learn more about, please leave a comment below or contact our office. I'd love to hear about it. We are criminal trial attorneys. We have your back. That's what we do.